John Davey, thank you so much for making time. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing about the fast track. And I want to start with our first question, which is who are you and why do we care?
That's an interesting question. All right. Well, if you ask my kids or my wife, they probably just tell you that, I'm some sort of old fart idiot. But, who I am is I'm an entrepreneur who's invented a really cool device that makes it easier, faster, less expensive, and more fun to learn, practice, and play tennis.
Easier, faster, more fun. Okay,
Less
those are
expensive.
all good words
Yeah.
for a product.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, so tell us about the product. So if you're not going to say I'm very interesting, which is good, a lot of people don't. What's interesting about the product? Tell us about you've got a unique product, and we love it already. But tell the audience about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could spend hours talking about it. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and share with you. As you said, you guys have seen it. What it is it's a kind of a hit capture return system, right? So it's a solo training device, kind of like a simulator where you hit a ball into the net, it drops back down, little ball machine pops it back out again, you hit it back in. So it's like a continuous loop. You can set it up anywhere you want. It's really designed to go into a driveway, a garage, a basement, something like that. It doesn't have to be on a tennis court, and it works on a small footprint. So the notion is that you can practice anytime, anywhere, right? Because tennis traditionally you haven't had that option, right? There's maybe that ball on the rubber band that you see kind
The
of
ball
thing.
on a string.
Yeah, or ball on a stick. There's a few of
Yep.
those that are out there, but this is more dynamic. And then basically, you can hit it as hard as you want. I've worked with guys at MIT. I've worked with designers, engineers to kind of come up with this whole thing. We've got a patent on it, which is really cool. But basically any level player, whether you're a beginner, I get like high level players, they'll come and they'll hit it real soft into the net, and I'll say, "Come on, I can hit it harder than you can," and I show them, and then they start ripping it. And so it's designed so that any level player can really work on it, and not dissimilar to, say, you've seen this Spanish method, right, where coaches are hand feeding balls, right? So it's very much like that, where you can be just hitting balls and working on your technique. And then we've got some really cool software that does ball tracking so that you can see where the ball would have landed on a real court. It tracks your ball speed, your spin. We've got a leaderboard game where you can be playing against anybody anywhere in the world. We've got coaching videos. So it's really kind of a comprehensive tool for learning, practicing, and playing tennis.
I couldn't have said it better myself, which is good because it's your job to say it well. I think I've had a couple of conversations where the guys looked at me and said, "Shaun, that well described, but I don't need to say it again." Bobby, we've played with this a little bit. What do you want to ask John? Like if there's some secret, I mean, it's pretty straightforward and easy to use, and we've loved it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when I found it, I was like, "Whoa, this is really cool." Again, the footprint is small, even, from the little nuances, and it's evolved since our initial conversations with John as he's gotten more into the software side of it. But even from the simplicity of you develop a tempo. As the coach, you always tell the kids stay on tempo. Stay, just the rhythm that the ball machine, the machine makes creates a tempo, and it's a subtle thing, but you're even getting that out of by hitting on this. And hey, anytime you get more reps as a coach, you're always excited about it. It's a great workout, and as I tell people, as you get older, it sure beats the hell out of the elliptical. We did the little promotional video for our fan festival. I think I hit with it for 2 minutes while I was talking, and I was like, I'm tired. I'm good. This is and we were doing. I was not standing in one place, so I think you can get out of it pretty much anything you want. You put into it. We put it out at the fan festival. It was the hit of it. Of course, having your 2-year-old son out there hitting into it as well was a great selling tool. It's always good to be able to sell your children. But our biggest disappointment down here is we've had a bad winter. So every time that we've subsequently thought about putting it out, oh, we got a few people coming. we've either been frozen or rained. But looking forward to the fall, the spring, and as we said, speaking to some folks who are in the industry that want to pony onto it and make it even bigger. So we're fired up about it.
Yeah, a couple things there, just to highlight what you were saying, the rhythm. Ball comes out every 3 seconds, so that's 20 shots in a minute, right? Which is really incredible when you think about, you could spend an hour and get 1,200 hits, right? No one's going to do that. Your arm's going to fall off before you, hit 1,200 balls. Average point in tennis is what, maybe 6, 7 shots. So, you're not used to getting this kind of reps. It's also timed in that sense, 3 seconds, where, Bobby, if you and I were playing, obviously you hit it much faster than I do. But if I hit 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000 hit, so it's timed for, to replicate what it would be like hitting on a court. And then if you throw some footwork cones and things in there, you can get an amazing workout. And again, it doesn't have to be on a tennis court. It can be, in your basement or your driveway. So, that's the whole point to it.
Yeah, John, sorry, Bobby. John and I think I exchanged a video with you where we were at Bobby's facility with a bunch of 10 and under beginners. And we had them put them in a line doing split step, pivot, hit the ball into the net, and then go to the back of the line, split step, pivot, hit the ball in the net. And it's, as a coach, a single coach can work with more players. So the coaches can use it in really unique ways. The kid misses the net, they got to go get it. And it's actually sometimes harder than people think to hit a ball straight ahead into that target. And you've got targets that we can put out onto the net. But Bobby would want to connect this. We've talked about connecting it with the high school coaches. And I want to bring that in because, John, you've told us you've even had some high school coaches do some essentially coaching in your apps. So you've got 3 different apps. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, so the whole premise behind this is, learn, practice, play. And, one of the initial reactions that I've gotten was when I first rolled this out was, some of the more salty, tennis pros would say, well, you're not practicing the right way. Right, you can practice poorly and the ball doesn't land on the court, or I want to see where the ball lands. So that's why we kind of came up with the whole software. So you virtually you can see where the ball would have landed with spin and speed. But part of it also is, people can go on YouTube, watch a video, and then they can kind of, like when I was growing up, you watched the US Open and Wimbledon, and then you went out and practiced it, right?
Go play, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what you did, right? Nowadays you can go to YouTube, but I put together an app where we have coaches who've done short videos, instruction, and it doesn't have to be just using the fast track machine, but you can certainly use it to practice. And on that video or on that app, and it's called FTT Learn, FTT Practice, FTT Play. So learn, practice, play. FTT, of course, is fast track tennis. But we've got an interview with one coach in particular who's out in Michigan, and he's used this thing, and he's bringing kids from elementary school up the curve so fast, and he's building his high school program, right? Getting more people into it. And so, what I'm trying to do is just create kind of that platform. And like you say, Shaun, people can figure out how to use it. Right. I mean, that's not my job to tell you how to use it. And, it's interesting. I get videos from people doing stuff like, I never would have thought of that in a million years. Right. But pretty good idea. So, that's what's kind of fun about this. And, but I want to give everybody the tools that they can learn, practice, play tennis better. And again, the denominator here is that tennis is a technical sport. You need to get a lot of repetitions in order to get better. And if we can do that, guess what? People are going to stick with the game. People don't like doing stuff that they're not good at. So let's let them get better quicker. And guess what? They're going to need new shoes and new rackets and get their rackets restrung and the whole thing. So that's the app strategy is super cool. We use computer vision for ball tracking. That's why we've got these orange balls so that the camera can see the ball in 3D space and track where it would have gone. We're tracking the spin on the ball, so you can get your spin rate. So any kid that's kind of wanting to see how fast am I hitting the ball, how much RPMs am I getting,
That's all they care about.
that's it. People are like, well, I want to know my score, right?
Uh,
I'll go to a tennis lesson, kind of like, what you showed me. And, kids will line up 15, 20 deep because they want to get their turn and they want to see what their score is. And so we're working on that, the hardware and the software, and it's really cool.
And Bobby, I think I knew where you were going earlier. Sorry to interrupt. With watching the coaches, Bobby's got a facility where the high school coaches come out and they're working with the kids. Well, many of the high school coaches aren't professional tennis coaches. They are teachers that are helping and they are organizing, and they don't have something that just helps in a way that this fast track can. Bobby, we've seen some coaches out at your facility that just they can't really feed a ball. They're not able to really do all the things they can do. And I know Bobby's got ideas like this can change high school tennis
Well,
significantly.
let me interrupt for just a second there,
Yeah.
guys. Is that I spent a lot of time on the road now. I just got back from Texas. They've got something called TTCA, Texas Tennis Coaches Association. 650 high school coaches go to this. I'm heading out to Michigan next week, and Missouri, Illinois. I've been to Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana. A lot of states have these high school tennis coaches association meetings because, like you say, it's the math teacher who also coaches. They don't have the resources. So when they see fast track tennis, they say, "Oh my God, I can set this up in the gym, or the hallway for when it's raining out, preseason, rehab, you name it." So high school is definitely a place where we're getting a lot of traction right now.
Bobby, I can see this at your place. Like,
Oh, I mean, and you think about it, I love the fact, just do the, as John said, the math, and we all use the mythical 10,000 hits. You can get that in 8 days. If you played 8 hours, you'd be at your, now again, we can argue the semantics of whether or not they're going to be, but it hits all the buttons. You're getting your reps, videotape yourself, watch. You can, which the kids don't do enough of. They don't watch enough tennis. So they don't see a person off balance, the things that we take for granted. So you're getting that immediate reinforcement. And the great part about it for the adults per se, you can do this. It fits, the footprint fits in your basement, in your garage. You can do it with music on by yourself. So while you're going through the beginning of the S curve, nobody's seeing it. So you can go home, and you're cramming all the time from one week to the next. Your ability is jumping, and people are like, "Well, what the heck is going on?" Well, I didn't want to tell you because it's my secret. Well, this is what I got. And down here, especially, with the folks that we deal with, they financially, it's not a question. A ball machine, a couple $1,000 gets into a realm. This, and it gives you the feedback with the software. This is a slam dunk down here. And like I said, our biggest, of course, we get the winter from Hades, but we're excited on taking this to a new level because I just see it as just having seen it at the fan festival, such a centerpiece as an attention grabber. And forget about just high school. I would love to see, my daughter went through how many years of school and didn't do gym. My God, this should be in elementary schools. Forget about high schools. Just let the kids do something during the day. They don't sit still. Well, they don't do anything. Here you go. Let them go hit a ball for 10 minutes. They'll slow down a little bit. So, it's got so many opportunities that looking forward to really working with the folks who've already demonstrated a huge interest.
So one of the things that I talk about a lot is this notion of, you guys talking about high school teachers who are also coaches. All those high school teachers give homework, right? I mean, that's not a foreign concept. I talk about when my kids were younger, they'd take piano lessons. They'd go to the lady's house, learn something, and then she'd say, "Go home and practice." And that's never been sort of a viable option with tennis, right? Other than that ball on the string kind of thing. So that's really what this is that, now you can go, guy who's taking tennis lessons maybe once a week, twice a week at most, right? Doing a group lesson on Saturday or Tuesdays. What are they doing the other 5 days? Well, they can be home hitting balls so that then when they get back to the next lesson, they're progressing quicker, right? There's not as much review. And, this whole notion of, not having to spend time picking up balls, that's really what I'm trying to do is make it, like I said, easier, faster, less expensive, more fun to learn, practice, and play tennis.
I think that's a winning combination. I mean, obviously, so do you. You're doing it, and one of the things we love about it is that, say, like Bobby said, most people at this price point, it's not a problem.
So are you
And
suggesting that I raise my prices? Is that what you guys are doing?
I am not in a place to give you business advice, John, but I'm happy to help you get it into the market here.
Well, I will tell you this, price is very much, is very important to me, not in terms of maximizing revenue or profits, but in terms of keeping it at a price point where everybody can afford this. And now, obviously, tennis players are generally more affluent, but, my sort of passion project here is that I want to get this down into places where it it's not traditional, right? Where you can get kids that maybe can't afford to do the traditional path, take lessons and summer camps and all that kind of stuff. So, I am doing everything I can to keep the price as affordable as possible for everybody. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but you guys obviously, are probably more in her camp. But no, I'm working hard to keep the price where it is.
Well, we appreciate that, but you got to pay your bills. A business is a business, and it isn't necessarily always, especially in the tennis world, it isn't always how much money you can make. A business's job is to stay in business. So as long as you're doing that and you can keep your price point where it is, we can find creative ways to continue to sell. So if your margins are there, we can talk business, that's fine. But in this case, it's more of a sales pitch to our audience to say, hey guys, this is a really cool thing. Right now, before John raises his prices after this conversation, you can go get $20 off at our website. But I think about things like our GoTennis Foundation, Bobby, where one of our initiatives is to get equipment to high school coaches. Well, this is easy because it's cheaper than a ball machine. It's more efficient to carry around. It's easier to store. And let's say 100 of these go to 100 high schools. The only problem there is you should have 5 per high school because you can set them out on the court and more kids can do more work. So, John, we're all in. I mean, we don't have to ask the question of why are you unique in the industry because the product answers that question itself. And we love what's going on in the direction you're taking.
Well, I appreciate that. And, I've been working hard on this. Certainly, it hasn't been without its stumbles along the way and, some issues here and there. And, making a consumer product is hard, no doubt about it. Adding in software, makes the degree of difficulty even, higher. But I've been committed to this and I am committed to it. The results that I'm seeing from people that use it and are getting better quicker, the interest that I'm getting globally is outstanding. So, I'm loving working with guys like you, and I appreciate having the opportunity to be on this and to work with you guys.
Well, Bobby, you got anything else you want to chat with John about before I hit him with King of Tennis?
I just think about how I would have done this as a child, listening to AC/DC. I mean, I can still shoot 8 out of 10 baskets because if I could do it by myself, I was golden. I just needed another person with tennis. So it hits so many buttons. And John, having been a poor kid and knowing the financial stress that it put on my family to put me into the limited that I did play, we appreciate the fact that you're thinking about big picture and helping folks out because you certainly could. You do have room to wiggle, but we like where it's at right now.
Well, I'll just leave you guys with this statistic is that, the industry, I don't know, I've seen varying statistics anywhere from 10 to 20 million tennis players in the US, which basically tells me, that's a fine niche market. But what that tells me is that there's probably, what's that leave, 330, 340 million people that don't play tennis. I like that market. And so if we can make it easier for people to come up the curve, that's gold. So my strategy is long-term greedy. I'm not trying to cut and run here. I want to build something that really works, has efficacy to it, and people enjoy and like. And so that's what I'm doing.
It's cheaper than a Peloton. It's cheaper than a Stairmaster. And the statistics say tennis players live longer.
There you
So
go.
it's a great combination. You can do it in the privacy of your own home. Nobody's going to see you do it. So it's a great way to get exercise.
Totally agree.
Well, and John, again, thank you for thanking us, but we appreciate you being here as well, because we want this out there. I also love the idea, and I would call this potentially gamifying beginner tennis as well, as giving somebody a chance to just poke the ball back in the net and just get that going. I'm looking forward in the spring to getting our 2-year-old on it, because right now he's got the little foam balls and the pickleball paddle, and I think he's going to love this thing. Anything that shoots a ball at him infinitely, he's going to be fine. But I do want to ask the question that I hope is coming, to find out. It's my favorite question we love to ask at the end, is if you were king of tennis, and I would guess other than the obvious of everybody go buy my product, if you were king of tennis, whether it's the whole world, just your area, just the United States, professional, social, anything. If you were king of tennis, is there anything you would do or change?
You mean like get rid of pickleball, something like that?
That is an idea. Yes.
Look, it's an interesting question, and I guess from my standpoint, lower the cost, flatten the learning curve, compress the timeline. Do the things that I'm trying to do. So I guess, I won't say I am the king of tennis. I'm maybe more like the Joker, but those are the things that I think are important to, growing the game. And, that's my mission, right? Is to make tennis available, make it easier, faster, less expensive, more fun, for people of all backgrounds, so that everyone can enjoy the rewards of playing tennis. And like you say, the research shows, you play tennis, you live longer. So, if I were king, that's what I would do, which I'm doing.
That's even better. Bobby, do we have the numbers, we have the percentage on king of tennis that the answer either actually does even have a potential to happen, but also he's actually doing it. He's working toward his own goal.
We're not even just we're accomplishing it. This is a first, I think. This hasn't been
the first one. That's good. Well, John, great answer. Love it, and we're happy to help as much as we can.
Look, you're talking to the company, so if somebody has a problem, they call me, they get me. I'm a small business, and so word of mouth is great. I love getting feedback from people, posts on social media, that kind of stuff, and tell your friends. But basically, this is something that, Bobby, I would have worn it out too. I made it for me when I was 12 years old, right? But it's not just for little kids. I mean, I've got women with babies. I've got older people that their knees are not what they used to be. So it kind of runs the gamut, and I hope that more people can try it out, and I hope we get more people playing tennis.